look at this and other issues in the power sector. I have joining me via Skype from Abuja, the Director General, Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, Engineer Peter Eweso. Thank you very much, Engineer Eweso, for your time.
Thank you, Tolu.
Now, let's start with NEMSA now being a quality management system. That's talking about the QMS ISO 9001 and 2015 certified by SUN, the first and only federal government agency so certified in the power sector. How does this come to you and your agency as the DG of NEMSA?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think being quality management services approves by SON, it shows that the services we are providing in this agency for the power sector and beyond are quality service. And it shows that our services are in line with best practice. And it shows too that all that we are bringing into the industry to ensure the efficient production, delivery of safe, reliable, and safe electricity to Nigerians, and to ensure that safety of life and property are actually well assured. And this did not just come just like that. It is a work which took us almost 2 years for us to go through all the processes and the procedures to be able to actually have it. But we are happy being quality management certified today by SUN, because this will actually further improve the services we render into the power industry and all other places where electricity is being used.
Now, let's talk about standard construction practice and stable network versus safe, reliable, quality, and sustainable power supply to Nigerians. Of course, as well as safety of lives and property at this stage of the power sector reforms.
Well, thank you very much. Just like you have said, standard construction and installation practice is actually the core to ensure that we have stable and reliable network. If the construction and installations are faulty, ab initio, it then shows that, one, even when the power is available on those networks, they are not going to get to the places where they want them to actually be delivered. Because when the networks are feeble and when the networks are not properly done, then the network collapses. And once the network collapses, services has already been disrupted. And that is the essence why NEMSA as an agency was put in place as the time the privatization was being concluded, to ensure that there is an agency that is going to ensure people play according to the rule. And just like you said, NEMSA is established, and by its law, we are the agency to enforce all the regulations made by the regulator, Nigerian Regulatory Commission, and any other statutory body for the power sector like SON, because they make their own standards, they create standards. But for the power sector, NEMSA has the absolute control and right in enforcing them to ensure that we actually have adequate power within the system that is available, that is being delivered. And if you have bad network put in place, that is what we call substandard construction practice. What then that means is that we'll be faced with a lot of challenges. Even when power is available, we can't utilize them. You know, for example, the rains has come now, and with the rains, we just find out that people will just switch off the discos. Most times, they just switch off the light because the system are already weak. The network are very weak. They are very long or manageable because they have not followed the standard practice with which they are supposed to actually build and put this infrastructure in place. Like the rains are coming, we expected every disco and the transmission company of Nigeria to have carried out what we call some pre-rainy season maintenance, like substations. They clear them, trees that are close to the line, they actually take them away and then ensure, more importantly, that their protection schemes and systems are working properly. But where this is not the case, that is why you find as soon as the rain threatens, lights are off, which shouldn't be it's not the best practice, and it does not conform with standard regulation, because regulation making mandatory that they must provide supply for citizenry at a reasonable level and time at all time, and making it sure that it's quite very safe.
Now, you've talked about rains, and it's very important we stay a little on that. Now, what precautions should distribution companies, transmission companies, and of course, put in place to make sure supply remains stable even when it rains? We go outside the country and we see that even if it rains, cats and dog, the lights remain. But here in Nigeria, it's a norm that when it rains, you expect PHCN to actually seize power. So what's supposed to be done to avoid all of this?
Yeah, first and foremost, where we started from, we need to have what we call standard construction and installation practice, so that the infrastructure put in place, right from transmission to distribution, even to where the light enter houses, have been done in line with the regulation, what regulation has specified. If you do not have adequate protection scheme, because like we are talking about the rain, basically the rains are not supposed to deter us from having power if the network has been properly built, if the protection scheme has been properly graded, right from transmission to distribution to even coming to our houses. But the point is that when rain is about to come, just like I've said before, we are supposed to rejig, check all the protection at 33 kV systems, at 11 kV systems, and at the distribution substations. For example, when you have weeds, actually, for example, growing to bridge the line, once the rain is blowing, it blows two lines together, definitely that line will be injurious even to their own equipment, and at the same time, it's actually dangerous to the lines that go to the houses, because if you have a tree whose branch bring two conductors together, two faces, of course the voltage is going to splash and it's going to increase and it's going to damage a lot of things. But because this has not been properly checked, properly done, what then happens is that, well, is the best way to do, instead of allowing these challenges that goes into our houses, to factories and industry that damage equipment, the best thing is to just switch off the lines, which is not in line with what the regulation has actually stipulated. Because if the line is properly built, the protection properly graded, the protection properly rated, then they have no fear. Because if truly there is now a problem and a challenge, the system will trip, and not, it will only trip only those areas that have fault, while the healthy areas will continue to enjoy supply while they go and trace it. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But NEMSA is working as assiduously to ensure that the discos actually comply. That's why at the beginning of every rainy season, we normally issue them a kind of advisory note and enforcement directive to say, please clear your lines, check your protection scheme, ensure that every part of what need to protect life and property, protect the system in itself, even their workmen, are put in place, so that we don't have erratic downtime of power supply.
DG, let's now look at your job. Seems not to be very easy. Now, tell us challenges you also face when you try to enforce some of these standards, safety standards, in your day-to-day dealings with your member of staff. Tell us about it.
Well, I think, as you know, for any enforcement, there will always be challenges, people refusing not to comply. But for us in NEMSA, we made it our own cause to say, to ensure that we all stay alive, the lights are on, everybody is safe, we continue to push. And it will interest you to know that is why we have done all it takes to enforce the non-use of 33 kV primary feeder lines for point load. Because in the regulation, which the regulator had made, that is NAC, it makes it disallow it being used for point loads, because we have two levels of voltages. We have the one we call 33 kV, in fact three. We have transmission, we have sub-transmission, which is 33 kV primary feeder line, and it is called primary high voltage distribution, and the other one is called secondary distribution. The primary distribution is to carry power from transmission station down to what we call injection substation, where the power is knocked down to 11 from 33, and it is 11 that is actually used to feed the generality of the populace in line with the regulation. But what has happened is that in the past, people have tried to use this 33 kV, which is primary feeder line that is supposed to evacuate power from transmission to general substation, to feed point load. And by this, most of the power will have been completely usurped to the extent that there is no power now getting to 3311 injection substation, and the larger populace do not have power. That's one. Two, we are the 33 kV lines, we're supposed to carry power just between 2 points from transmission to injection substation. It has got what we call a capacity of what they can carry, the evacuation or wheeling capacity. In most cases, for a 150 mm conductor, which is mostly used, the total capacity is 25 megawatt. But when you now calculate the total load on this line, sometimes we have a case where we have 76 megawatt load on a 25 megawatt capacity. So you can see, even as a layman, you know, it's like having a child who can carry maybe a man can carry just a bag of cement to carry 10 bags of cement. Definitely you kill the man. The essence will not be worked. So that's why the challenge that is in the system. People have been saying, and what other alternative? The alternative is that we need to expand the network, the discos need to do more, and then every person in the system need to understand that the proper growing of the industry is the only thing that can make us to actually have a proper and reliable supply. Because if you overload the 33 kV and they collapse, then it means there is no power at all. So the challenges have been people not understanding, but we have been educating people almost every time for them to appreciate and understand it is for the good of everyone, both our inspectors who go to inspect and the people we are protecting their interests. Even the discos too, because when they have, for example, there is one feeder in Nigeria that have 146 point load connected to a 30 kV primary feeder line. That 146, it means you have 146 fault locations, which causes hazard and risk to Nigerians living within the environment. Then it equally destroys power supply. Because for the disco to go and maintain or carry out repair on any one of those 146, they need to switch off the entire line. And I don't think that is good proper operation management in power supply system anywhere in the world. It's not the best practice, and this challenge we are facing it. And I can tell you clearly that most of the discos now are actually beginning to appreciate the reason why they need not to continue to allow point load to be put on 33 kV primary feeder line, and then ensure they try to build injection substation, which is actually what the regulations, external regulations, have actually.
Indeed, thank you very much. The Chief Inspector of Nigeria, that's the Director General of NEMSA, Engineer Peter Eweso, live from Abuja there, talking about safety and standards in the electricity sector.